Hi, this is Vicki Hyman. I am here with our Knights of the NJ Advanced Media Roundtable, Craig, Carla, and John, and we are going to be talking about Game of Thrones, where, as I wrote in my recap on NJ.com last night, stuff actually happened. Right, guys?
Cersei's in jail. Cersei's in jail. Cersei's in jail. That was the best. And America rejoiced. They were like, yes, finally some comeuppance.
Yes, but, Cersei got her comeuppance. And it was wonderful, the scene where she finally realizes that all these machinations that she put in place to get Marjorie out of Tommen's life are just totally rebounded back on her. And she was just smiling, hearing about the Tyrells being stripped of their finery, and then the High Sparrow says, "And what are you going to look like when we strip you of your finery?" And she's like, really, really, really awkward, and it was wonderful. Was that the best moment for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, actually, no.
But we'll get to Tyrion and Daenerys later.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was the best thing that finally, we all knew it was coming, so we were just waiting for it to happen. And it was so good that they had Littlefinger there, and everybody was kind of plotting behind each other's backs, and he was just so straightforward. And the conversation between Marjorie's grandmother and the High Sparrow was just, I thought, so interesting, because my girlfriend and I were talking about how she doesn't really have anything if she stripped like everything from her. Like, she kind of, she killed Joffrey, but technically it's probably in the greater good of things.
Right.
So I don't think she's scared of anything. However, Cersei is, and now is showing
Well,
it.
I did think it was very interesting that you have the High Sparrow is really a believer. I mean, we're talking about basically liberation theology here, you know, and he was telling Lady Olenna that it's like, well, you know, yeah, you're going to withhold the crops from us, but everybody's going to know what's going on, and there maybe they'll rise up against you, which I thought was really interesting. We're talking about a real fanatic here.
Right.
And you wonder who's Cersei's allies at this point. I mean, King Tommen. Yeah, but I mean, even that's a little dicey after he pretty much didn't help, the queen out at all. Amazing.
Well, the one thing that Carla and I were talking about earlier is this mystery man that Littlefinger was going to bring to Lady Olenna at the brothel, where he says, oh, well, I gave Cersei a gift of a handsome young man, and presumably that was Olivar, who testified against Loras and Marjorie, but I'm going to bring you a handsome young man, and maybe some people think, well, that must have been Lancel Lannister, who's going to tell the High Sparrow about everything that he did with and for Cersei, but presumably Lancel had already told the High Sparrow everything, so who is this young man?
It could be the bastard child of Robert Baratheon.
Gendry?
Gendry, that was sent off on the boat because he was never heard from again after that. That's the only person I could think of that at least has some backstory.
Or maybe Littlefinger sent Lancel into the that religious cult as a mole or something. I don't know.
That's some pretty with the tattoo and everything. I don't know about that.
But they do have the interesting conversation when they first get there.
Yeah.
Which they all know Littlefinger is guilty of something, and of having these brothels and everything. But no, I guess that'll be the unveil for the next 2 episodes.
It's really exciting that we finally gotten to a point where the show has already been diverging from the books, but the show is also moving beyond the books in that Tyrion and Daenerys finally meet, and I thought they were totally going to pull a bait and switch where they were going to fight, and then she was going to leave, and I was like, no!
Right.
But how interesting, just the cinematography of that. When he's walking out, they had the camera low, so you saw Tyrion walk out, and he looked so big, and he was just very confident. And it was just such a very, I thought, well-shot scene. It was one of the better scenes in this. I compared it to when you see the Stone People for the first time. It's like one of the better scenes in this season so far.
Do you think Daenerys had an idea that was Jorah? Because, I know she admired the fact that he wasn't killing everybody, wholesale slaughtering, but it seemed like, he's also wearing that yellow shirt that he always wears that must smell really badly at this point. But I thought maybe she sort of recognized who he was.
Well, I didn't think so.
Well, yeah, because when she saw it, she was like, get him out of my sight.
I think she respected the honor of that night.
Honor.
But then as soon as she saw who it was...
Which makes it that much more interesting that she's got to cast aside this guy who's like an honorable man makes you wonder if she would rethink anything, but she's not a rethinker anyway.
Well, she is a rethinker. She opened up the fighting pits.
That's true.
She's marrying his daughter Zola Rock.
With
God
air
help.
quotes.
It's just political, as she has sex with Dario. So, yeah.
And he says to kill all of the...
Yes, kill all the masters. Which could happen. The games are coming, and maybe she kills the master. She could finally leave Marine.
Right.
Which would be great.
Which we're talking about timing of things. How long she's been here. I was talking to Carl about this earlier. I don't know if anybody picked up that I really don't know how much time is passing in these episodes. I don't know if it's a writing thing.
That was very interesting because Marcella down in Dorne was like, I've been here for years. And I'm like, well, has she been here for years?
Yeah.
Because Tyrion sent her away, and Tyrion was handed the king, like, really not that long ago.
Right.
Season 3, right?
Yeah.
And also, you have Jon Snow just getting on a horse and leaving, and Stannis has been trapped in winter forever now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like I'm sorry, this episode was a little bit in the timing. It didn't line up for me.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's a little wonky because they have recast
Sir
Marcella.
Jorah actually got, or Mormon actually got to see Daenerys in that quick of a time period. I mean, like the whole season was like a stroll, and then like everything happened in like.
Yeah, no, I can't complain about it.
No, I mean I like it. I like
here
it.
is complaining.
No.
I like it. It should.
I thought like another interesting thing that finally moved things forward was Sam and Gilly. Although you know we've talked, we've spilled much internet ink on the whole problem that Game of Thrones has with the rape. We have Gilly almost getting gang raped up against a wall after Sam is brutally beaten, and then half an hour later she has sex with Sam, and I'm sorry, but almost getting gang raped does not generally put women in the mood to have sex, so that kind of bothered me.
Yeah, it was a pretty creepy scene.
But she also said it was okay, like in the sense that she said like let them do whatever they want. She came from
a rape culture, crassest rape
not
culture,
that
granted.
It's okay, I'm saying, but she came from that and was a disturbed individual, and she didn't want. I mean, Sam almost got killed. He would have been killed had Ghost not come out, but. I think it just shows like what she's willing to sacrifice for him and what he is willing to sacrifice for her, which was interesting.
Well, it kind of seemed like there was like some sort of passage of time, because he didn't look that bloody like in the scene that they had sex. I don't know.
I mean, it wasn't. It was that night. I'm pretty sure.
Again, time elements.
Timing.
I think that comes back though to the writing of this season diverging from the books a little bit. We tend to have these little. Plot, not full plot holes, but kind of timing holes for me that I've seen throughout the whole season a little bit. It feels like. I mean, I had to look up the Google map of Westeros to see how long it took Sir Mormon to get to.
By bus, by walking. So there was another interesting thing with Shireen, where Stannis and Melis. Stannis is like, he's somewhere north of Winter, somewhere between Winterfell and the Wall, and he's getting ready to finally attack Winterfell, and that better happen this season, I'm just telling you. And he doesn't know if he can make it through the snow, and so he asks Melisandre, are you sure that all these visions you've been having show me winning at Winterfell? And she doesn't say you winning. She just says I see the flayed man banners coming down. She just sees
her walking through that.
Yes, I'm walking on the battlements and the flay. So she never actually says you're going to win. And then she basically says, well, I think she said we need to kill Shireen in order to ensure victory. And Stannis, to his credit, I'm a Stannis fan. Says get out of here, and that's not going to happen. So good for Stannis, right?
But I don't know. She brought it up, and he kind of looked a little. He had the little pain thing of he doesn't know. He's very torn, and Melisandre's good. She is good. She is good.
Very convincing breasts.
But she might go to the wife, which the wife is.
She's really crazy.
So if she doesn't really like the daughter, and she was insisting that she comes, also. So there could be a little bit of that.
And finally, while we're on the subject of breasts. Dorne. There was one scene in Dorne. Well, I mean, there was.
I think that just describes Dorne.
Lando breasts.
What was the point of the scene with Bronn and the Sand Snakes?
Well, she was trying to get the blood pumping so that the poison would work faster.
But why? She gave him the antidote at the end, so there's nothing new there. Nothing happened.
But I think it's showing that Dorne is not an enemy. No matter how much they're fighting, they're not really enemies with. Jaime Lannister, and I think there's just like such an interesting dynamic there where you have them not killing the Lannister kid. It's just not it's not the same way it is in King's Landing, and they're almost showing them that.
Interesting.
I mean, I thought it was just a very cool scene.
I don't know.
In the prisons,
Ilaria has basically
singing.
said she wants to send pieces of Myrcella back to Cersei, like piece by piece. So it's like,
well, they want to kill Myrcella, but like not like the prince obviously doesn't. So,
but they're doing that because they think it's justified, and they don't think that the sellsword. He thinks they respect him as a fighter, and it's almost like they have a mutual respect for each other. I mean, she does end up giving him the antidote. So, like, if he died, then I'd be like, well, okay. And then that scene was kind of.
I just thought it showed how much power they have over him. That they're pretty much they have him on a string now. They can pretty much.
And it also shows how strong the women are there, which I think in a lot of the other places. I mean, you have Cersei's a very strong woman. However, she's still kind of figuring out how to play her power part, and then you have Sansa, up in Winterfell, who's clearly not in any bit of control, and I mean every woman right now is not in control except for kind of in Dorne. Even though they're in prison, they still have somewhat bit of control.
Well, actually, now that you bring up Sansa again, there was one point that I was like sort of rooting for Sansa, but like when she basically told Ramsay, "But you're a bastard, and you're not going to take over Winterfell eventually." And I was like, Sansa, don't do that! Don't say that!
Right.
Don't poke the dragon!
Yeah, it's like, haven't you lived with Joffrey before? Like, don't you know how this works?
I know, seriously, like walking on the battlements. I mean, not the battlements, wherever they were walking. I was like, oh my God, Sansa, please don't say that. But I don't know. I guess she's like, what can she doesn't realize things could get worse. She doesn't know exactly what happened. Theo lost his man part. Theon lost his man part. She doesn't know this yet.
I just think that she is trying to figure out. You want her to do this whole thing much more on the sly, and I didn't want her bringing Theon in either. I was like, do this yourself. You're stronger than you think. Do it.
I mean, she doesn't know. She doesn't know how far gone Theon is until I guess now when she's like, whoa, like.
But that's another thing. Sorry, but that's another thing too with the timing of how she's in there and locked in the room. How long has she been locked in that room? It almost made it seem like she's been in there for weeks.
At least days.
But Jon Snow just got his horse ready. Yeah. So I don't know how long it takes to get your horse ready, but I just didn't think it was weeks. Just throwing it out there.
She definitely had some bruises going on.
Oh, yeah.
You could see that she'd been beat up pretty bad, and her spirit is definitely flagging.
Right. But I think she's stronger than a few days. That's why
maybe this is like a test. Well, it is. It's a test for her. And
isn't everything a test for her?
I guess so.
She always gets the worst hand.
Yeah. There needs to be some sort of light at the end of the tunnel now, because poor Sansa
and winter is coming.
And poor Brienne, who's stuck at the Motel Winterfell, just waiting for the light. I mean, it must get really boring then.
Just looming. Always standing in a window, just watching.
So we have a lot to look forward to in the next 3 more episodes left of the season. So I'm saying that, one, we have to have the Battle of Winterfell. That must happen.
I think that's going to be the finale. Next one's going to be the big standoff with all the wildlings we saw in the preview, and we're going to be in Meereen for most of the
quite frankly, I'm not so interested in the wildlings and Jon Snow. I mean, I can't really see how that's going to play a big part going forward.
Yeah, I was interested in Jon Snow, but when Stannis was there, and now they're gone and they've diverged.
But he has to bring the boats back to him. So there's that interesting little.
The wildlings will be part of the army that defeats.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so again, talking about timing, how are they going to get back? Stannis is tomorrow's the day, and those wildlings aren't on the boats now. I'm like,
but that's why I kept bringing up timing. I feel like we're going to have to look at that and see how those things even line up. If they do, and if they don't, then. We can talk about the writers.
All right. Well, I'm very much looking forward to next week's episode, which I really haven't been so much. Nothing has been happening, but can't say that anymore. We will be back next week with another Game of Thrones roundtable. Please join us. Thanks for watching.